set, hut, hut.
As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football.
Almost heaven, West Virginia.
Now let's bring on the Mountaineers. Goes around about the 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
He did it. Patrick White. Touchdown, Tye Von Austin.
But Don Nehlen's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread.
I think you think that these guys are going to fall over dead for you. Well, I got news for you. They're going to punch you right in the mouth. It's Mountaineer pride.
Nothing cheap, nothing dirty, but West Virginia football. West Virginia football.
We've no doubt tonight they shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue. Not this night.
They've done it. They've done it. A perfect season. And the Mountaineers, for the first time in history, undefeated and untied.
Don Nehlen and his Mountaineers, for the second time, have finished a regular season with an unblemished mark.
Ain't no stopping the Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into another live stream here, January 10th edition on the Country Roads webcast. And we actually got breaking news just about 5-10 minutes ago, right before I got ready to start the stream. So then I was scrambling, had to add my guy to the thumbnail because we just had another transfer commit. That's how much these are coming in, how quick they've been coming in, how much in rapid succession today. 4 of them today. All I think are going to be impactful players for WVU in a big way. All have 1 year of eligibility remaining. So we now have 4 guys to talk about as we just had a commitment right before the stream broke. So pretty much breaking news here talking about the first commitment that we're going to talk about. So we've got 4 transfers we're going to discuss. Got some more coaches that were officially announced. And, of course, I'll catch up with you guys in chat, continue to share your thoughts in there, and I'll try and get to those momentarily. But let's lead off with the most breaking news just recently, right before the stream started. The news comes out that West Virginia has snuck in someone under the radar that just entered the transfer portal on January 8th. So, 2 or 3 days ago, this guy just hopped in. And I think him, along with one of the other commits that we're going to talk about that's a safety, they kind of fall in line with what West Virginia did with Jalen Henderson. Pretty much all these other guys that we've seen commit, we've kind of reported on their offers and their upcoming visits. But there's been some guys they've kind of flew under the radar and you didn't even know that they were coming in, and then lo and behold they commit. We saw it with Jalen Henderson, we saw it with one of the other commits that we're going to talk about momentarily, and then just a few moments ago we saw it with Chase Wilson, putting it out on social media. You see 33 minutes ago actually from the time we're starting this stream here, and if you want to follow him, Mountaineer Nation, at CJ Wilson _18, committing to WVU, a linebacker from Colorado State, which is big enough because it was a position of need. But I was like, okay, well, what's his stats and stuff looking like? And then all of a sudden, WVU Recruit fan page puts this out, and so I have to go verify and stuff, and it is indeed true. No offense to WVU Recruit fan page. They put out some great stuff. I always share their numbers here, but just wanted to make sure because I was like, holy crap, that's a lot of tackles. And so you see this guy is a tackling machine. Will be a great fit for us at the linebacker position after we've lost Lathan and Trotter. Really racked up a ton of numbers there over his couple years starting at Colorado State. 234 tackles, 6 sacks, a forced fumble, 2 fumble recovery pass breakups throughout his career there. So great numbers, and a guy that can play in the box for you, and a guy with a ton of experience. And I think that is kind of the theme of the transfers that have committed to WVU today, is really experienced guys that are coming here for their final year of eligibility to help the Mountaineers. So we can go ahead and pull up our transfer portal tracker one time really quickly to add Chase Wilson's name to the transfer in list. And in doing so, you're going to see one of the other names that we're going to be talking about that I'm really excited about, and that's the one that I was telling you West Virginia kind of snuck in on a visit that we didn't really know was coming either, and that's Justin Harrington. But it's a position of need as West Virginia continues to rebuild that secondary, but he's a safety, and West Virginia now has 3 safety commits that I think are going to be super impactful. So we're going to talk about Justin Harrington next after we add Chase Wilson to the list, because you see I didn't even get a chance to do that yet. That's how quickly this commit came in, had me scrambling before the stream started, but he commits to WVU, and I think that's great to get another linebacker. We have Ashton Woods. Now we have Chase Wilson, who's racked up a ton of stats, so with those two guys, you have a guy in Ashton Woods who was really highly rated in last year's recruiting class, redshirted at UNC, so you have him for pretty much his whole career potentially. You have a young guy with high upside, and then you have a guy with a ton of experience that racked up huge tackling numbers at Colorado State with the linebackers you're bringing in. And don't forget, we still have Reed Carrico, Ben Cutter, that did stay put and will be with the Mountaineers as well. So looking good there. We knew we needed to rebuild the secondary, and I think West Virginia has made big steps to do that. Earlier today, I put out a transfer portal update just to kind of let you guys know where things stood, because I knew we would be getting at least a couple commits today. They've kind of doubled that up and dropped 4 on us, and I think we'll probably even have more coming over the weekend. I would not be surprised about that, but that's why I kind of wanted to put that out this morning, get that out, let you guys know where we stood, because I figured some of these names would be coming in. But these two were the surprise ones for me. Didn't know they were on campus. You guys know I've been trying to cover the visits here, but we get Chase Wilson, and then we get Justin Harrington, who's we need to discuss him now. Another power conference transfer, and he's been in multiple Power 4 programs, Oklahoma, and then, of course, Washington most recently. And he was a very highly rated safety in the JUCO ranks coming out. More on that momentarily. But I think what West Virginia has done here is they've really shored up the safety position, which they needed to do, essentially not having anyone, returning there. So you go and you get Jordan Walker from Chattanooga, and you go and you get Fred Perry from Jack State, and then now you get Justin Harrington from Washington. 3 solid safeties, could all potentially be starters if one of them fits at the cheetah position, and I actually think one of them does, and that's the one we're talking about now. Justin Harrington, but very experienced, and let me show you guys how highly he was regarded coming out of the JUCO ranks, one of the most highly regarded players in the country coming out of the JUCO ranks. Let me pull up his page here to show you guys. First of all, great size coming in, 6'3", 209. We haven't had a safety quite that size in, a while. And so I really like that aspect to his game. I like the power conference experience, but you look coming out of as a recruit, 90 grade, number 7 player in the country, number 1 safety at the JUCO rank, and was the number 1 player in North Carolina. When he went to Oklahoma, where he had a lot of experience there, and then went to Washington this past year, because he was a JUCO player, he's granted that extra year of eligibility. That's how he's able to come back for this final season, hit the portal, and decide where he wanted to go, and he lands in Morgantown, going to be a West Virginia Mountaineer. Justin Harrington joins the mix, as we saw him on our transfer in list there. But I want to pull up, in addition to that, I did have from WVSports.com's Keenan Cummings some good stuff here on him as well. In this article that he put out, like we said, the great size, 6'3", 209, hometown of Raleigh, North Carolina. Spent 1 season at Washington where he was used sparingly, but wasn't the case at Oklahoma. Spent 3 seasons with the Sooners football program. Recorded 29 tackles and a pair of interceptions. Started 2 games at the cheetah position to start of the 2023 campaign prior to a season-ending injury. And this last sentence is what stands out to me, because obviously Zach Alley, a Brent Venables, disciple, they run similar defenses. Zach Alley wasn't at Oklahoma in 2023. He came in 2024. But Brent Venables uses a similar position, that cheetah position that we've talked about in past live streams. In Zach Alley's scheme, we were kind of wondering who would be the guys that would go there. And we saw when Zach Alley was at Jack State and when he was at Oklahoma, he really mixed up some more bigger body types, like a Harrington here, a 6'3", 209 guy, and then maybe some more like slot corner body types, like a guy that we've had committed earlier in the class, and Jordy Scruggs could maybe do it as well. But the fact that he has experience at the cheetah position could maybe say, hey, this might be the guy that has kind of the one step ahead in the race to potentially be the starter at the cheetah position in Zach Alley's defense. And like I said, West Virginia adding multiple guys at safety that I think could factor in there, though, in recent days, because Fred Perry can play in the box as well, but he can also come screaming downhill. So whatever way you arrange these guys, Jordan Walker, Justin Harrington, and Fred Perry, I think West Virginia has some really good safeties that I'm excited about now with those additions. So West Virginia adds those 2 guys, which were kind of the surprises. But another one that I think was less of a surprise because of the fact that we had covered him in the past going back a couple of streams ago now, for a few days, we have talked about Tye Edwards, the running back out of Northern Iowa from the FCS ranks. We knew he would be visiting WVU, but I'll be honest, I thought it was a long shot for the Mountaineers because we already had LJ Turner committed. We have Jaheim returning. I knew he was a different style of running back, so I was like, maybe that gives us a chance, but I also knew he was highly sought after because of such the great career that he had, at JUCO. And then in the FCS ranks at Northern Iowa, who always has great years. He was even a 1,000-yard rusher this past season, so he had plenty of suitors. But West Virginia, yet again, gets a guy in on a visit and impresses him and gets him to commit to the Mountaineers, as WVU is on an absolute tear in the transfer portal right now. Adding Tye Edwards, which this right here is your power back. I know when we had talked on previous streams, that's one thing Steven was saying with the addition of LJ Turner. As much as we loved his film and like his game, he's similar to Jaheim White kind of in size, stature, and being more of a speed back. And we were wondering, would they add another back to potentially be a more powerful guy, because you didn't really have that on the roster currently. And they go out, they target that in Tye Woods, and they get that. As announced today per his agency, Max Olson puts this out. Edwards over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns this season, and has one final year of eligibility remaining because he played at the JUCO level, just like we stated about the guys before him. He'll be coming to WVU for his final season, and really excited about this pickup. And I think shout out to the Mountaineer guy who put this out on social media. Just going to share a little bit of a clip of this, and this might be edited out for you guys on the playback. That's one of the benefits for being in here live, why you should be subscribed to the channel if you're not already. But here's a couple clips for you guys just to showcase, because this guy, great size like CJ with the 230 pounds, which CJ Donaldson had, but 6'4". I mean, so you're talking even taller, even bigger. I haven't seen many running backs that are 6'4", but I think what you also point out is, as the Mountaineer guy puts out here on social media, faster, because that's what stuck out to me when I watched the film on Tye Edwards. Is he's not only big with the 6'4", 230-pound frame, but he's got the speed to run away from people in the open field as well. So I think you're looking at the guy that'll probably be, running back 2. No offense to LJ Turner. I think he'll get some play as well. You have 3 good running backs there, not to mention the young ones that West Virginia returns. But between Jaheim White and now Tye Edwards, West Virginia can have another good lightning and thunder combo. But don't sleep on the speed of Tye Edwards, as we're going to take a look at here. Like I said, FCS level, but Northern Iowa, a very good team there. And look at that. A guy had the angle, and he, still able to get to the sideline and outrun him. And look at the frame. That's one thing I said, Coos was doing a stream earlier, and I was able to hop in there live for a second with him. And I said, just at 6'4", 230, that's one of the guys you want to get off the bus first, because he's an absolute beast. And he shows that in the way he plays as well. And just great speed to go with that size that you wouldn't think that he has there. Long strides, and look at him get up the sideline, barely gets clipped, or would have had another long touchdown run on that one. Just impressive speed for a guy his size, I think, is what I took away from his tape, and really think he'll be a great fit in the Rich Rod offense, the way that he's kind of a one cut and go back. When he sees his hole, kind of hits it, gets vertical, and then he turns on the jets and has that second gear the guys aren't expecting sometimes, delivering a little stiff arm there at the end and into the end zone. So I love the look of Tye Edwards coming to the Mountaineers, a running back that I'm really excited about. So let's go ahead, let's pull up our transfer portal tracker, add him to the transfers in list as well, and we can take him from our upcoming visitors list. As like I said, we reported on him being a visitor previously. Now we can report on him as a commit for the Mountaineers, and it's a super exciting addition. Obviously another skill position player. Those are always, the sexy pickups, right? The skill position guys. So West Virginia gets another running back. They continue to revamp that secondary with Harrington. They get a need at another defensive position in Chase Wilson. And so West Virginia is up, 20-plus commits now for the transfer class, really doing a phenomenal job. And I think a lot of people would agree that they've really done a great job, but the one caveat to that, the one negative point that people have pointed out, has been West Virginia really is still lacking in the trenches. We need to add offensive linemen. We need to add defensive linemen. We know we have plenty of targets there, plenty of guys visiting at that position. We love the addition of Walter Youngbear. We love the addition of some of the young offensive linemen that will be coming in as freshmen. But that was the one thing people kept saying. And I was telling you guys, hey, West Virginia's targeting some. There's guys coming in on visits. Watch out for that. We talked about Mina Taimani, who was coming in on a visit from Ole Miss recently. And then we also talked about, some of these other guys, Robbie Martin, who was on campus today, William Reed, who's going to be here over the weekend. Same goes for Wyatt Minor. But another guy that we discussed that was very interesting was Kimo Makane'ole from LSU. So another potential Power 4 transfer. We knew would be visiting WVU. Makes that visit. And the reason that I said that he was so intriguing is because of the fact that he could play offensive line. He could play defensive line. Coming out of high school, was recruited as an offensive lineman, spent 2 years there playing that position at LSU before transitioning to play the defensive line. And so was wondering what he would be recruited as at WVU. But the plus side of it is we found out he is committing to the Mountaineers. And then we also found out everyone should be happy because we can call him another offensive line addition. West Virginia may need to add a defensive lineman at some point still yet, but they're in much better shape there, have a lot more returning. They were super thin on the offensive line, needed starters, needed depth pieces, needed everything. And Kimo Makane'ole is a guy with power conference experience, was a highly regarded offensive lineman coming out of high school, and West Virginia is going to flip him back to his more natural position, let him be an offensive lineman. And I've got to credit Skylar Callahan on this one for sharing that information that he would be recruited as an offensive lineman. He was the first one that I saw put this out, so I want to share his tweet where he said WVU views LSU transfer Kimo Makane'ole as an offensive lineman per his agency. Played on the defensive line last season in Baton Rouge. And I think our assistant offensive line coach, Derek Dressler, came out and kind of confirmed that he was excited to coach him in a social media announcement as well. So we add him to the transfer in list, like we said, continues to grow way up there now in names. I think we're up to 21, and a little bit of info here on Makane'ole from Keenan Cummings, again, over on the WV Sports site. Did a great job with these transfer 101 sometimes. 6'4", 297 pounds, spent 4 seasons with LSU, played on both lines. Like we said, all these guys coming for their final year of eligibility. All 4 of these additions, West Virginia with 2 offensive ones, a running back and an offensive lineman here that we're talking about, and then 2 on the defensive side, a safety and a linebacker. 3 of his 4 seasons spent on offense while he played D-line this past season. Like I said, 6'4", 297, a Florida native, appeared in 19 games during his time in the SEC, 10 of those on the D-line last year, but was a 3-star prospect, but was regarded as the 15th best offensive guard in his recruiting class, and had obviously really good offers to choose LSU. Could have went Texas A&M, Florida State, Ole Miss. So you're talking all kinds of programs, that were after him, a lot of blue bloods, a lot of big name SEC programs there as well, and goes and plays in the SEC, and being a top 15 offensive guard, no slouch. So glad to see West Virginia return him back to the offensive line. Visited the Mountaineers on the 8th before his commitment here for his final year of eligibility. So wanted to share a little bit of that to update the info on him, and I'm going to pull up one more time our transfer portal tracker because there are a couple other things I want to update you guys on. Then I will get to some of your all's comments. And before we talk about the coaching staff update that we have to talk about here before we round out this stream, I know some of you guys want to watch the CFP. I got it on in the background here, so we'll try not to keep you guys too long. But I do want to remind you guys, whether you're watching live or on our playback, you can really help us out a lot just by hitting that thumbs up button, giving the video a like, pushes it out to more Mountaineer football fans like yourself. And if you are one of those that hasn't subscribed yet to the channel, be sure and do that. We'll be continuing to cover the transfer portal updates, the transfer portal offers, the visits as they're scheduled and reported, the transfers in, all the roster movement, and of course all the coaching staff updates, which we're going to get to momentarily, and appreciate you guys that do subscribe to us here on the channel. But you see, here's the full list, 21 names now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, already 4 transfers in for the Mountaineers. And like what I said, we're going to have 30 plus transfers in this offseason. Not even talking, now we're going across the spring as well. It'll probably be closer to the 40 plus range, I would say, if I'm being honest. But West Virginia already doing a great job. Rich Rod and staff knocking this out of the park, in my opinion. We've got more guys that I think we're still on commitment watch for. Some guys that I think could potentially come to West Virginia. Some defensive linemen, like we talked about, West Virginia maybe adding some guys there. Adam Tomczyk from the JUCO ranks, CJ Doggett, a legacy player at WVU. Would love to hear good news on Justice Finkley, who recently visited. Donovan Green, I got high hopes for, but he is making a visit to another program now as well, so still have to see what happens with that. And we've talked about the other offensive linemen West Virginia have targeting. So, we may see some other names pop up as visits here in the near future as well. I think we're going to learn about a lot of these commitments over the next couple of days, though, because I do believe the spring semester starts Monday at WVU, and I know West Virginia is hoping to get a lot of these guys enrolled by then so they can be here for spring football practice. So a lot of these names that we've had visit already or that will be here over the weekend, I think we'll hear news about tomorrow or Sunday, some more names. So look out for another live stream potentially tomorrow evening and hopefully discussing some more news on that front. But we also do have some news as far as transfers out for WVU, because we saw Jaheim Joseph today announce his destination to be UNLV. Wanted to share that, but a more positive update, another guy withdrawing from the portal, and West Virginia adds to the offensive line in multiple ways today, I guess you can say, adding the transfer from LSU, and then also Justin Terry, who was a freshman last season, redshirted, decides to exit the portal and will return to WVU. So that's good. West Virginia really needs offensive linemen. They're bringing some in via the portal, but hey, to get a guy back that was going to leave the Mountaineers, had entered the portal, withdrawing his name, we'll take that as well. We take all we can get on the offensive line right now, and I think we'll continue to have really good news there. I'm excited about a lot of the guys that are visiting, and I'm excited about all the guys that have transferred in. So that's what I have here for the transfer portal update, where things stand currently tonight before they probably change again tomorrow. But hey, that's why we'll be back to update it again once that happens here on the CRW. But appreciate you guys here that have chimed in the chat. I'm going to get to some of your all's comments, and then we will talk a little bit about the coaching staff update before we wrap up here on this stream. But let me wet my whistle really quick, and then I will read off some of your all's comments. All right, guys. I see JR in here saying, what's going on? Let's go Mountaineers. Appreciate you, JR. Kenny talking about Chase Wilson just committing. Yeah, that was a surprise one. Hey, it came in just in the perfect amount of time for me to be able to add him to the thumbnail, pull up a little bit of info about him, try and learn a little about him on the fly. Still got to watch some film on him. Haven't had a chance to do that quite yet, but at least we had it come in time to be able to, cover it here in this transfer update. So excited about that one. Tye Edwards said, we are so close to Donovan Green, man. I know it feels like we are definitely maybe his favorite after his visit, the way that he was sharing WVU stuff on Twitter and, interacting with Mountaineer Nation. Definitely looked positive, was hoping he wouldn't make any more visits, but don't blame him for doing so. I'm sure he hasn't made too many, obviously, going just to Texas A&M, and then that was, the way that he went there on that visit and then making the one to WVU. So don't blame him for taking other visits, but just hope he comes back and still commits to us. I feel more positive about our chances because it worked out in the case of Cam Vaughn. He went around, kind of did his tour, and then ended up still committing to us. So hopefully Donovan Green will do the same. And I was telling, the guys in the CRW group chat today, if we were able to score a commitment from Donovan Green, I think he'd be one of the most athletic, if not the most athletic tight ends I've seen WVU pick up in my lifetime. He's that type of talent. If he's still the same following that ACL injury that he had when he was a freshman All-American at Texas A&M. And I think, on tape, he looks really great, really great. 200 tackles in 2 years is right. Super beastly numbers there for a tackling machine in Chase Wilson for sure. Hey, Leslie, appreciate you being in here. Eric Flower says, we got a new beer truck. Hey, it certainly seems that way. And I'm going to be very excited to see if Rich Rod goes back to a little bit more of those, two back sets and tries to utilize a little bit more of that triple option look that he did at WVU in his previous, stops. Because he still has a little bit of that, I'm sure, in his arsenal, obviously. But when I watch Jack State, and I'm going to dive into that further throughout the offseason for you guys that are almost heaven members here, that'll be something we're doing through the offseason as film reviews of some Jack State offense and try and, look at the scheme and what West Virginia's could look like coming up in 2025. So, if you're not a channel member, hit that join button below. We really appreciate that support. Helps keep this mic recording, that camera rolling, and you'll get some really fun stuff throughout the offseason, some bonus content there. But, I think when we look at that, maybe it'll change. But from what I've seen in the few games I've watched, it was a lot of single back, and maybe that was just because of his personnel there at Jack State. But I would hope with the addition of Tye Edwards, we get him, being the dive man on that triple option look, just like you're talking about there with Owen Schmidt, and he could potentially be our new beer truck. He certainly got the body type and the frame for it, for sure. Let's see here. Try and get to where we are here. Dime Drawer 4 says, what a day we've had in the portal. So hyped. Spot the effing ball. Hey, couldn't agree more, man. Dime Drawer 4 says, our new beer truck as well. Beer truck 2.0. Silas says, let's go. Jaheim and this dude in the backfield with Nico gonna go off, baby. Hey, yeah, and don't forget the fact of being able to add in Jalen Henderson. Even if he's not the starter, we'll see who ends up being QB1. I think he's got a good chance. But, Nico certainly got a chance as well. But even if he's not, you could bring in Jalen Henderson in some packages and really have a ton of different rushing threats in the backfield. Just pick your poison with this offense. And we knew Rich Rod would make do with whatever he had on that side of the ball, but he's really added some good pieces there to help himself out. But West Virginia's really impressed me with what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball. I think Zach Alley and the staff are going to, really, for the first time in a long time, make us remember, West Virginia can play good on defense, actually. We've been with these air raid coaches the past two staffs, and we forgot what defense looked like. Leslie says, loves Ty's height, may help seeing the openings better. Yeah, Leslie, I agree with you. Make a good point there. Very, very well. It could be the case. Looks like in the little bit of film I've been able to watch on him, he does, do a good job of seeing the holes as they open and really being, like I said, a good one cut back and getting vertical and then utilizing the surprising speed that'll hit you with his stature. And I think that's what's impressed me on his film and why I think he's a really good fit for the Rich Rod offense there. Take those inside zones, find whichever gaps there for you to hit it and go. Let's see here. I do believe he is Samoan, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe I saw and read that earlier, but I don't have it pulled up to be able to reference it 100%. I thought that I read that earlier, though, that he is. Let's see. Devil Dog 44 with a great comment in regards to that. Every time I see a Pacific Islander name as a target, I get to feed a Fanu flashbacks. Oh man, what a story, what a saga that was. Yeah, I think we'll be good. I think the transfer here from LSU will be on campus in short order here. Like we said, the spring semester starting soon, so I think we're good on this one. Ernie B says we're going to start out at least 3-0 and be ranked. The excitement will be off the charts. Let's go Mountaineers. I love the optimism, Ernie. Definitely got a great chance with, having a little bit of a better or more favorable non-conference schedule this year for sure. Kenny Evans said some low stars can be just as good as big star guys if they fit in the system. Great point. Great point. And Rich Rod's shown that throughout his tenure that he's had success with either one. Dime Drawer 4 says Justin Terry definitely has some size. Exactly. Probably going to have to, get him into the Rich Rod conditioning, to be in the shape to play in his offense, and they'll get him there throughout winter conditioning and such. But great to have that depth on the offensive line, and a guy that was young. So talking about a guy with a ceiling, a higher ceiling. So some potential there. Get back into the fold is always nice. Tye Edwards, channel member, says what Rod does is take the overlooked guys and mold them into what he thinks can bring the best out of the kids. He's awesome at finding the diamonds in the rough. Well said. Well said. Chris, I love your comment, man. That's funny. You about got me with it, but I ain't pulling it up. Overworked, underpaid said, see huge jump in the secondary. See some six-figure bonuses inbound. Let's go. Love that. Overworked, underpaid. Appreciate you. Hey, WVU Wildman 82 with the 199 super chat. Really appreciate that a lot. Always appreciate your support. WVU Wildman 82 channel member and throwing in the super chat says, can't wait to see these kids in the blue and gold. And neither can I. I'm going to hopefully get a chance to head up to the spring game, get a good look. I think this will be a fun spring game to attend, and I think we'll probably be talking about one that's highly attended, obviously because of Rich Rod, but also because it's almost an entire new roster, right? You don't return many starters on either side of the ball, and you're going to be revamping it with a lot of transfers. get to get our first look at a lot of them in the spring, and then get to see probably even more of them come in over the summer and learn about them in fall camp and see them in game 1 of the season there when we take on old Bobby Moe, Robert Morris in Morgantown. Tyler Round says, thank you so much for keeping us updated with all these new commitments. Really enjoy listening to you and Mountaineer Paul. Super excited for the future of Mountaineer football. Hey, appreciate that, Tyler Rounds. And I concur with you. I enjoy listening to Mountaineer Paul as well. Him and Coos do a great job keeping up with this stuff also, so always got to shout them out. But appreciate the kind words, man. I'll always try and keep you guys up to date on what's going on throughout the Mountaineer football world. I'll continue to do that throughout this offseason with transfer portal news and coaching staff news, which I'm going to get to momentarily. Almost caught up in the chat here, then I will talk about the coaching updates before we wrap up, guys. Tye Edwards says, going to buy a Tye Edwards jersey because when he leaves, I don't have to worry about anything. Hey, that's true, man. That's true. Literally just a few letters off from having almost identical names, man. If he could just throw an R in there, he would have all the letters in place, man, in his first name. So that's pretty funny, Trey. I like that. Let's see. We got a comment from another channel member here. I want to get to that. WVU Mountain Lair with Kenny, channel member, appreciate you, man. Says, think it'd be a shame if he doesn't have a chance to be QB1. He'd be disappointed, talking about Nico. Oh, yeah, certainly 100% has a chance. I think him and Rich Rod look like they have a good relationship, a good rapport already. So he 100% has a chance. But it's wide open for either guy because despite Nico having experience being at WVU, both guys are brand new to the Rich Rod offense. So, I don't think neither one really has a leg up in that sense, and it's obviously open competition, but certainly has as good a chance as anyone, and I think, some people may feel like he's the favorite. I don't know if I'm willing to call either guy the favorite just yet, but Nico certainly is, a fan favorite and a guy that I've liked and wouldn't be upset if he is and it does end up being QB1. Definitely wouldn't be mad about that. Dime Drawer 4 says, let's bring back the 2004 to 2011 unis. Hey, man, the 2007 to 2007 to 2011s were my favorite, for sure. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Should have probably hit the mute button if I was going to cough right in the mic, for sure. Devil Dog 44 says, Rich Rod 2.0 is much different. His first tenure, he took all the good talent for the offense, and the D was left to piece together a serviceable D. It's nice to see them target and get guys on D successfully. Yeah, I think that's one of the benefits we have of getting him later in his career back here for that 2.0 era, right, is the fact that he's now known and has proven to himself throughout his career that pretty much, he knows what he has to have on offense. So whether that be if he can get really talented power forward guys or whatever, he'll bring them in. But if not, he can find them from anywhere. Like we talked about, the running back last year at Jack State that was number 3 in the country in rushing, came from Limestone University. Steve Slayton was a 2 or 3 star guy. So he's been able to do it that way. So he's proven throughout his career, hey, I can make do with pretty much anything on offense and turn it into a really explosive, great offense. So if I really have to make the choice here, especially in this era where money's involved, I want to spend more money on the defense, more money on the defensive staff, because I know I've got the offense in check. Rich Rod bets on himself there, and rightfully so. One of the best offensive minds in college football history, quite frankly. So don't blame him for feeling that way, and I think that's a great point. Devil Dog 44, and appreciate you guys tuning in and chiming in here. Channel member Kenny Evans with a great question. Who do you see as our punt kick returner? Great question, man. I think one of my dark horse candidates that's my favorites there is Dom Collins. You guys heard me wax poetic about him a ton in the past. Love that guy. He's obviously from, near where I'm from here in Mercer County. But 4'2", 40 guy, incredible speed. Anytime he touched the ball on returns, he was a threat to take it to the house in high school. And I think he could do the same at the college level. So that's my dark horse that I would love to see get the job there. But I think there's plenty of really good talent guys and speedy guys on this roster that'll be, potential candidates there. But that's, my number one, as Trey says as well, Dom Collins. Dime Drawer 4 says Dom Collins, 4'2", 40, put the ball in his hands. Mountain Lair with Kenny says Dom Collins also. There we are. Hey, we're all in agreement here on the CRW. Our vote is for Dom Collins. That's our candidate that we're pushing. So we're hoping for it. But let's get to the coaching update, guys. I'm going to take a swig of my water, then I'll get to these coaching updates, and then we'll wrap up before too much longer so you guys can get to, watching the second half of this Ohio State and Texas game, which is pretty close here as we're streaming throughout the first half of it. We'll see what ends up being there, but I'll let you guys get to watching it after I do the coaching update and take a swig of my water, and we'll get right to it. All right, so let's get to the coaching updates here. Some coaches that were officially announced, and then another coaching update that's not officially announced, but it's a coach that we do know is coming on board, and we've learned his title, courtesy of Mike Kazaza from 247 Sports. But let's start with the official updates, starting with one that we've been waiting on because we knew we had our cornerbacks coach and we had our safeties coach, and we got the announcement of Rod West, the cornerbacks coach. We were waiting Gabe Franklin, who's a coach that I'm really excited about. I think he's going to be a great recruiter for the Mountaineers, and I think he'll do a great job coaching the safeties as he's officially announced in the press release today. Just before 2 o'clock, Rodriguez announces Franklin as safeties coach in his statement here. Gabe is familiar with some of our defensive staff from their time at Boise State, and I'm excited to get the chance to work with him. He brings great leadership and experience from all levels and was a well-decorated defensive back during his playing days where he was an all-league cornerback there at Boise State. Prior to coming to West Virginia, served in various roles around the Mansfield, Texas community, including founding F4 Sports Academy and teaching high school business while coaching football and soccer at Timberview High. So has connections in Texas, having been there, and has high school connections in Texas, which is very interesting for recruiting. I am expecting him to be a great recruiter, but could West Virginia have a little bit of a foot into Texas now? You know, they've tried that in the past and it hasn't worked out, but could it pan out better this time with Gabe Franklin leading the way there, as he also spent 5 seasons at UTEP where he was defensive backs coach and recruiting coordinator. So that shows you how highly regarded he is for his recruiting, prowess there. Began his coaching career at Bishop O'Dowd High School in California. So interesting, his alma mater's in California, so has ties in California, has ties in Texas. So we might be talking about a guy that, you can say, hey, go recruit nationally. I'm going to give you, here's some of the top prospects in the country we want you to go after. Gabe Franklin, you go get these guys no matter where they are. He has ties seemingly all over, it looks like, as you got the West Coast ties from, the Boise State time, from, the time in California. You got the Texas ties we talked about there. So really like this addition of Gabe Franklin, who also, has some pro football experience. Following his collegiate career, had signed as an undrafted free agent with the Chargers, had stints with the Giants and 49ers before playing in the NFL Europe. Has a bachelor's degree in psychology from Boise State in 2004, and then a master's degree from North Texas in 2023. He and his wife Kelly have 2 daughters, Addison and Emery, and 2 sons, Aiden and Evan. So we add him to the coaching staff now officially with the press release. And then we also have added another member to the staff today that is the senior defensive analyst and assistant linebackers coach. And I think that, senior defensive title is one to keep, something to keep in mind as we provide another update here in a minute. Like we said, courtesy of Mike Kazaza, we'll get to momentarily. That's not yet official, but you can pretty much mark it down with 247 reporting it. But the press release announcing Andrew Warwick today, just before noon, as senior defensive analyst and assistant linebackers coach. Rich Rodriguez's statement here: Andrew is a great addition to our coaching staff, bringing a wealth of knowledge and a proven track record of developing players at a high level. I'm confident that his work ethic and leadership will make a significant impact on our team's success moving forward. Joins the Mountaineer staff after spending the last 3 years as a co-DC and inside linebackers coach at Wofford. So that's how big of the home runs West Virginia is hitting on this staff, how much money they have to spend, is they're able to go out and get guys that were co-DCs this past season and bring them in as assistant linebackers coach and senior analyst jobs. And, same goes for who we're going to talk about in a second with Travis Trickett, who was just recently an offensive coordinator and we're bringing into kind of a similar role, which we'll talk about momentarily. But, the defense that he led there at Wofford, number 4 in the Southern Conference, included a pass defense that led the league. So another guy that has great experience with, pass defense. West Virginia's trying to revamp theirs. Linebackers will need to be in pass coverage some, and he's your assistant linebackers coach. So something to keep in mind there. Also spent 3 previous seasons as a linebackers coach at Troy, interestingly enough. Prior to his time there, was the defensive coordinator at Jack State during 2018 season. So that's funny. Was there at Jack State also. So another guy that has history with Jack State, where he had led them to the nation's 15th ranked defense in his lone season there. So great, stats and experience. And he was there following various roles at Clemson. So another guy that has a history at Clemson, and that's where you're tied to Zach Alley is. That's, how he gets on this staff right there. There's where you find the connection. It's Clemson. The Clemson connection with, of course, Brent Venables and Zach Alley. And so another great piece to add to this stack, Andrew Warwick. So defensive analyst on the 2016 Clemson National Championship squad, native of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Earned his bachelor's degree from Knox College in 2007, 3-year starter at tight end and receiver there. Won the Mike Cross Award as the team's top receiver. Received his master's degree in athletic leadership from Clemson in 2014. Married to the former Anita Kieran Coomer and have 2 children, KJ and Timothy. So Andrew Warwick joins the staff. And then the last staff update I have for you, like we said, I teed it up long enough, so I'll share it since Mike Kazaza put it out on social media today. We've now learned, and I had wondered about what Travis Trickett's title would be, because I'm like, well, there's no really position groups left on offense. I wonder if they're going to give him an OC title, and it doesn't look like he's necessarily going to get an OC title, so it sounds like we're not really going to have anyone with the OC title, which I guess no surprise, because we knew Rich Rod is essentially the OC. He's going to be the play caller anyway, but I guess, it's just kind of funny because most times he has still had someone with the OC title throughout his career. But according to Mike Kazaza, Travis Trickett is returning as the senior offensive assistant, and the salary pool for the coaching staff now exceeds the $5 million, which was guaranteed to Rich Rod. So that is obviously a number that was kind of a minimum that he was at least get. So West Virginia, people had wondered, hey, when are we going to start seeing that money that everyone talked about that would come along with Rich Rod? Well, I think you're seeing the home runs that we're hitting in the transfer portal and the great staff additions that we're bringing in. Not only, the big names, the Zach Alleys, stealing him away from Oklahoma and making him the highest paid assistant ever at WVU, but even the guys that are kind of just the support staff, if you will. We're getting Andrew Warwick, who we just talked about from Wofford, who was a co-DC and has been a very successful defensive coordinator throughout his career, getting him as a senior defensive analyst, and then getting Travis Trickett, who has been a, knock the ball out of the park recruiter throughout his career and was amazing at it at WVU the last time he was here. West Virginia is going to do a great job recruiting Florida and Georgia again with him on board. He's also been an OC recently, and we're getting a guy that's an offensive coordinator to come in as a senior offensive assistant, according to Mike Kazaza, and I'm sure that official press release will come from WVU in the near future. So that's what I had, guys. That's the transfer portal update and the coaching staff update as more hires are now official, and as more of those continue to come out over the coming days, we will continue to share them here on the CRW, both the transfer updates and the coaching staff updates, and I'll continue to probably be live with you guys almost daily as I have been throughout this offseason thus far, and will continue to do so as the news continues to come out just hot and heavy for us throughout Mountaineer Nation here, and a lot of good news today. Big pickups in the portal and some new additions to the coaching staff, and we'll continue to cover this throughout the offseason. Larry Westfall asked about the strength coach. Mike Joseph stayed on board, and Parker Whiteman coming over from Jack State, as well as another assistant strength coach that name slipped my mind currently. But that's that one. I saw that comment pop up right there. Let's see here. If I can get back to where we were in chat, I'm going to catch up on some of your all's comments and then wrap this one up. Like I said, let you guys get to watch the CFP or whatever you got to do to finish your nights. But had some really important transfer updates to talk about, and I'm expecting, like I said, we're on commitment watch for a lot of those guys that I named earlier when we were going over the visit list. So watch out for those maybe tomorrow. hopefully tomorrow, and if so, I'll be back live with you guys again. But I want to mention I appreciate you guys tuning into this one that did get a chance to watch it live, or if you're watching the playback, I appreciate that as well. But either way, just while you're in here, take a second, hit that thumbs up button. It's a silly thing to ask, I know, but always got to do it because it really does help us a ton. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more of these off-season happenings throughout Mountaineer Nation I can keep you up to date on. You'll get these videos right in your feed, so you'll know what's going on with the transfer portal visits, offers, commits, and all those good things, as well as the coaching staff news. And if you'd like to support us monetarily, you can become a channel member here for as low as $2.99 a month. It helps keep this mic recording and that camera rolling, and you get all kinds of WVU football bonus content, including cool WVU football helmets beside your name, as you see for channel members in chat there, and custom emojis and such as well. To go along with the bonus content you get that includes monthly streams there, just where we hang out and you get a look kind of behind the curtain a bit, and no real topics, just kind of us hanging and talking monthly there with the Almost Heaven members, and we always appreciate that support if you're able to do that. But let me catch up in chat real quick before we wrap this one up, because I'm sure we will have more to talk about tomorrow, guys, so we'll see you guys in short order. But let me get to some of your all's comments before I wrap up here. Jack Fleming fan with a great question, and I always love your screen name, Jack Fleming fan. What's my prediction for the WVU season in 2025? Great question, and I can't necessarily say until I know, more, until we get closer to the season, until the rosters are finalized. And of course, that's why we always wait till August to do our season prediction roundtable podcast episode. Me, Steven, and Brad, my two co-hosts here on the CRW, always one of our favorite episodes. It kicks off our new podcast season, and that'll be kicking off season 8 this year when we get to that in August, and that's when you'll really be able to find out our true predictions, Jack Fleming fan. But I think the floor is 6 wins at the very minimum right now from what I'm seeing already. We're going to at least make a bowl game, but I think with the roster we're building and the defense shaping up as good as I'm seeing it, and Zach Alley being as talented as he is, if they really shape up that side like it's looking like they may, we could be a contender in year 1, guys. I wouldn't be surprised about it. Channel member Tye Edwards says floor being 7-6, ceiling Big 12 chip. I like that. Dime Drawer 4 says 9-3, just barely missing conference title game. 2026, look out though. Hey, I love the optimism on some of your guys. Dime Drawer 4 says glass half full guy though. Hey, that's all right. We're cool with that. We like to throw the golden blue glasses on here is what we like to say, because we like to keep it optimistic as well. Tye Edwards says we have a coach who can actually win meaningful games. That's why you're going to see a new version of the Mountaineers. And not only that, we have a coach that's going to get these guys to play hard on every snap. And that's going to be, visibly noticeable on the field as well. Wow, Kenny with the bold prediction. I love that one, Kenny. Says we'll go undefeated year 1, he believes. Hey, that's bold, Kenny. That's super bold, but I love that optimism. You got 2 pairs of golden blue glasses on, brother. Your piss is running extra hot tonight, Kenny. I like that, man. I like that. Dime Drawer 4 with a great point. We aren't getting slapped in the face in Motown anymore. Well said. Well said. Devil Dogs 44, OSU or horns down you. I despise both. Is there a way for them both to lose? That would make this bitter old Marine a happy boy. Hey, appreciate your service, Devil Dog 44. And I'd have to agree with you. Not a fan of either, to be honest. I guess I'm going to have to root for Notre Dame in this one. Never thought I'd say that either, but I've really found myself to be a fan of Marcus Freeman. He's kind of, I think, changing everyone's tune on Notre Dame in some aspects. Even people that have always hated Notre Dame, it's hard not to like Marcus Freeman, in my opinion. So, I don't like Ohio State or Texas. I'm watching this without a rooting interest. When I get off here and watch the second half, I'll just be watching it to see how it turns out. Channel member Kenny Evans says, do you worry about players that only have 1 year left playing on a team? I don't, just because of the fact I think that Rich Rod, having experience at Jack State, when you're at that level, at the group of 5 level, your guys get picked off every year. Just this past year, he had to bring in 60 new transfer players, and they won a conference championship. So I think that's kind of the name of the game in today's day and age. You try and mix in some young guys with multiple years, but if you can get really talented guys, you're not going to turn them away just because it's 1 year, just because you're going to have to do it all again next season. Because chances are you might have to do that no matter if you bring in 1 year guys or not. You could have nothing but young guys on your roster, and some of those could potentially leave, and you're going to have to turn around and bring in a ton of new transfers anyway. So I think in today's day and age, bringing in guys with only 1 year doesn't worry as much as it would have previously, because you're having to turn around at least a portion of your roster every offseason. This year, West Virginia having to do, the majority to the most of their roster, but, you're going to have to do at least a piece of it every offseason. So it doesn't bother me as much. And I also like getting guys that have a lot of experience. I think, that's something that you can't coach, experience. You just have to gain it. And, that's something you lose in young guys. Sometimes, potential you can say the same thing for, but you got to love experience always. Dime Drawer 4 says, great thing about the playoffs, you don't have to be undefeated anymore. That's right. Let's just try and win our conference, and hey, we can have a spot at that table. Tye Edwards, channel member, said his brother's an Ohio State fan and he hates Texas, so he's got to go Ohio State. Hey, I understand, man. You got to go with your family. Respect. But Dime Drawer 4 says, Kim, they both lose somehow, which is kind of how I feel as well. Dime Drawer 4 says, a Trickett means South Florida, here we come. Exactly. Trickett's about to make recruiting in the South skyrocket for West Virginia again. Great job in South Florida he does. He did a pretty good job in Georgia last time he was here as well. And not to mention Noel Devine being on staff isn't going to hurt us in Florida in any way. That's going to help us as well. Leslie says, thank you and great stream. I really appreciate those kind words, Leslie. Appreciate you tuning in and chiming in. Who was coaching special teams? Kenny, you may have missed it. I think it was last night's stream or the stream the night before. We shared the updates on that, but it is Pat Kirkland, who's coming over from Jack State, has previous history, in the Mountain State, was the head coach of Charleston, previously at WVU as well. But he's coaching special teams, and the assistant special teams coordinator, why is his name slipping my mind right now? He's been announced as well. And I just talked about him on a recent stream. Chris Herring. My goodness, how did I forget that name? Great linebacker on the 1988 championship, national championship, or nearly national championship Mountaineer squad that played for the national title. Chris Herring was on that squad. Was at WVU already, rehired and staying on as assistant special teams coordinator, helping Pat Kirkland there, but appreciate the question there. Kenny. Let's see. Hey, Luis Burgos, appreciate you, man. You and Coos and Mountaineer Paul are the best. Hey, those two guys are the best, man. I just, follow in their footsteps, but try and do a good job keeping you guys up to date on what goes on throughout the offseason here on the CRW as well. We'll always try and keep you guys abreast on all the transfer portal movement, the offers as they come, the visits, and I'll try and continue to do that throughout the offseason as I've done thus far, and I really appreciate the kind words here, guys. Kenny asked, do you see us hitting the top 25? I do. I think it's going to happen. I think it'll happen for sure. I think Rich Rod will do it in year one, what Neil Brown couldn't do in 6 seasons. I know they were ranked at one point in the coaches, but never ranked in the AP poll. That'll change. ESPN has traditionally hated WVU. As you said, they're outside of Pat McAfee. I think that's what we got in our corner now that we haven't had, is we do have Pat McAfee. He says they'll have us around 40, 50 range starting out because not many returning starters and new coach. Oh, yeah, I'd be surprised if they have us that high even starting out. We'll see what happens. Channel member WVU1 says we need Notre Dame to win, so they stopped bringing up the last time they won a national championship when they beat us. Yeah, good point. This first time they've been there since then, so maybe that'll at least make them be quiet about that one more as well, too. And WV1 sharing some of the cool custom emojis there. And overworked, underpaid with a great comment in the stream on here. Like Rich Rod said 3 times, you can win a national championship at West Virginia. Indeed, you can. He had us on the cusp of it in the past, and I hope he gets us back to that level in the future here in the Rich Rod 2.0 era. But what we do know is that he's building a really impressive transfer portal class and a home run grand slam coaching staff thus far. Really excited about the additions we've brought in the portal, and the ones that we've talked about here in this stream, I think, are going to be very impactful for 2025. And, of course, excited to have some more coaches now officially on board as well. As more names come out in that aspect with that staff, we'll report on them here. We're talking, a coaching staff that's going to be 20-plus names, and once we feel like we have it all pretty much complete, we'll go over what will appear to be the full staff in totality with you guys here on the CRW in a future live stream. And, of course, like I said, watch out tomorrow, guys. I'm expecting more commitments to come through. Put out a tweet this morning, said, we're going to have some coming down the line. that was indeed the case. I was expecting a couple. We end up with 4, so doing even better than I was hoping there. 4 commitments for the Mountaineers today, and 4 really impactful ones, and was glad to cover those here on this stream and hope to cover more tomorrow. If news does come out, you can see me back here again tomorrow night in another live stream with another transfer portal update for you guys. But I appreciate y'all tuning into this one. Before you head out, hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can get these updates right in your feed, as we'll keep you up to date throughout the offseason here throughout Mountaineer Nation. Can never thank you guys enough. As always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.